7, where it says, "We will certainly test you with some fear and hunger, and some loss of possessions and lives and crops. But give good news to those who are patient. Those who, when a calamity afflicts them, say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, to God we belong, and to Him we will return. Upon these are blessings and mercy from their Lord. These are certainly the guided ones." Salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. And in fact, you can actually see that the Ahlul Bayt have been tested time and time again, and you can see throughout their lives that they have been patient. So, some examples I've drawn was with our Prophet, Hazrat Mustafa al-Islam, said that, actually it's not a quote, but during the time of the boycott of Banu Hashim, him and his family had to endure a lot of struggle. Imam Ali al-Islam and Hazrat Fatima al-Islam also had to deal with a lot of pain and trauma when they had to deal with the passing of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the events that occurred after. Imam Hassan al-Islam had to be patient too when he had to start a peace treaty with Muawiyah. And you can even see that Imam Hussein al-Islam as well, at Karbala, told his family to look, and this is to quote him, he said, "Look, you should not utter anything which will decrease your reward. Be patient. Your end is very good. You shall be protected from the mischief of the mischief mongers. Allah will soon chastise your end." And this quote I took from Maqdal al-Muttahar in his book, Sufferings of the Prophet's Descendants. Now, up until this point, in all of these events that I mentioned, whenever you think of the word patient, you might be thinking of something serious like illness, injury, death, or tragedy. But patience can even be used in even simpler moments. A really famous quote from Amir al-Mu'mineen, Hazrat Ali al-Islam, said, "A moment of patience and a moment of anger can prevent 1,000 moments of regret." And you can even see this happen too. That one time when Imam Ali al-Islam once was in a fierce battle with his enemy, and just when he was about to strike the killing blow, the man spit or spat in his face. And Imam Ali al-Islam got up in shock. Everyone stopped, the battle stopped for a moment, because at that time he knew that if he had continued, he would be fighting for himself and not for the sake of Allah. And yet, another example from Amir al-Mu'mineen al-Islam said that life consists of 2 days, one for you and one against you. So when it's for you, don't be proud or don't be reckless. And when it's against you, be patient, for both days are tests for you. And this is a source from the life of Ali ibn Abu Talib from Bakr Sharif al-Hurj. And one last example of patience that I would like to discuss is from Surah Maryam. So if you don't mind, can you please recite one last salawat? So in Surah Maryam, ayat number 43 to 47. To explain this a little bit, Hazrat Ibrahim al-Islam was talking and speaking to his father. So he was speaking with his father, who at the time did not accept Allah as a God. And it starts by saying, in verse 43, he says, "O my father, there has come to me knowledge that never came to you. So follow me, and I will guide you along the straight way. O my father, do not worship the devil. The devil is disobedient to the most gracious." And in verse 45, he also says, "O my father, I fear that a punishment from the most gracious will afflict you, and you become an ally to the devil." To which his father responded in ayat 46. He said, "Are you renouncing my gods, O Abraham? If you do not desist, I will stone you. So leave me alone for a while." And before I say the next verse, I did want to mention that in this time, you would imagine that if you were the prophet at the time, you would imagine that you might be guided by God, you might have spoken about many truthful things, you might have guided many, but even then, he still took a moment of patience, and he said, in verse 47, he said, "Peace be upon you, I will ask my Lord to forgive you, he has been kind to me." So, even in disastrous moments, you should still try to find a moment of patience. And inshallah, hopefully we may also be patient in the future. Jazakallah khair.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Before we begin with our scheduled English program, just two announcements. On the day of Ashura, which is Tuesday, we will begin with the Ahmad of Ashura at 11 a.m. And it will continue until 1 p.m. for Salat al-Dhuhr. And then after Salat, we will begin our scheduled majlis for the day of Ashura, inshallah. And then following Ashura, the coming Saturday, July 20th, we will have our annual majlis at Bahishti-Zahra. Also, the English program led by our Sheikh Modarres. And then it will begin at 11 a.m. and then it will conclude with we'll have Salat al-Dhuhr, and then we will continue the program with going to the Bahishti-Zahra cemetery outside, inshallah, with the Anam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
With that being said, without further ado, I invite our Honorable Hajj Agha Sheikh Modarres to come to the minbar for tonight's English program. with the last salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As we are approaching 9th of Moharram, known as Tasu'a, which will be tomorrow, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us to be grateful for the blessing that we receive, which is to love Prophet and his family, to choose them over so many other personalities that we could have had, and we were worthy, and we were, alhamdulillah, fortunate of being among those who have the mahabba and inshallah the ability to follow their message. And also we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by the honor of the day of Tasu'a, to protect all the oppressed, all the madloom of the world, and help us, inshallah, to be on the side of the truth, the side of haqq, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it means inconvenient for us, and have that bravery and strength, inshallah, with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إلهنا وشفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا العبد المؤيد الرسول المصطفى الأمجد المحمود الأحمد أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد
وآل محمد
وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين الهداة المهديين سيما بقية الله في السماوات والأراضين واللعن الدائم على أعدائهم أعداء الله أجمعين من الآن إلى لقاء يوم الدين. قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن الكريم وقوله الحق وهو أصدق الصادقين ولقد كرمنا بني آدم وحملناهم في البر والبحر ورزقناهم من الطيبات وفضلناهم على كثير ممن خلقنا تفضيلا. صدق الله العلي العظيم. May Allah illuminate our hearts by the light of Iman and guidance and help us to cleanse our hearts and our souls from corruption, deviance with the light of the salawat of our Prophet and his family with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We discussed we can refer to them as family wreckers. What would lead a family to the brink of falling apart? It will bring hatred, it will bring bitterness between the family members. There were three issues that I discussed to the best of my ability using the teaching of Ahlul Bayt. But before I ask you and test you on that, which I will, don't worry, I want you to know that our deen as Islam, as Muslims, is referred to as Deen al-Fitrah, which means this is a faith that is according to our innate nature, meaning that the message, the teaching of this faith, the core messages of that, is not against our nature. And when I say nature, I don't mean desires. I mean the good nature of man. For example, in Quran, Allah says, حَبَّبَ إِلَيْكُمُ الْإِيمَانِ. We created you in this way that you appreciate faith. وَكَرَّهَا. When you despise, you dislike فُسُوقَ وَالْعِصْيَانِ. Kufr, fusuq and isyan. You dislike lack of faith. You dislike corruption. You dislike sins. If people change, that's the result of nurture and nature. Meaning, sometimes we're influenced by our environment, sometimes we're influenced by our family. Sometimes is that we are kind of exposed to elements that make kind of expedite the process of corruption. It empowers that part of our character, which Allah said, فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. We have both. Because there's free will, we have the ability to do good, and we have the ability to do wrong, to do bad. One undermines the other. That's why they do not coexist that peacefully together. Fujur and taqwa, they do not mesh with each other well. In our teaching, we're told that just be aware of this fact, that al-qalbu haramullah, your heart, your soul, is a place of Allah. It's like a temple for Allah. وَلَا تَسْكُنْ فِي حَرَمِ اللَّهِ غَيْرَ اللَّهِ. Do not let anyone reside in this place beside Allah. Meaning that it could happen that people let someone beside Allah comes to it. But the moment Allah is forgotten is the moment that something else will be replaced. We worship celebrities to the point of worship. This is amazing about human nature, right? We say, oh, we don't worship God. I'm not that religious, but I worship other things. We worship power. We worship fame. And we're ready to give everything to get it. That's what worship is. When you submit, you surrender, you do everything in your power to get there. One like Imam Hussein does it for the sake of Allah. Someone like Umar ibn Sa'd is doing the same thing. Remember, those who fought Imam Hussein alayhi salam, they had victims as well. People got killed. Means they gave their life for something as well. But they gave it for some other reasons. They gave their lives either for the money that they got, they had a payment, or a promise of a position of power, like Umar ibn Sa'd was given the promise of being the governor of Ray. And for some people it was just their delusion, thinking that they're better than Hussein and thinking they're actually doing something good. Living in that obliviousness. So I give this introduction to remind you and remind myself what basically turns people against each other, especially in the family, and looking at these issues that we discussed. It cannot be forgotten that ultimately we are the one who can contribute, expedite the process of destruction, or we can heal, repair, and reform. And our nature, going back to my main point, our faith is the faith of fitrah. Meaning when I talk about these three issues, it's not just because of the Quran that said. That's one reason. It's not that because of the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt Hadith said. In addition to that, our fitrah also agree with it. Just thinking about it from a logical, rational point of view, you will get to the same conclusion. That's why in my speeches I give examples to make the point that yes, we have the teachings of our faith telling us, warning us about issues, but also real life reminds us of that these are the problem. So let's, in order to kind of finalize this point before moving on, what were the three main agents of hate in the family? Nina, I hope you're not the only one raising your hand. Is Nina here? Except her. Again, let's give some, inshallah, opportunity to others. Good job to you. Yes, Hassan. Jidal, which is, translation of it is to dispute, to argue, right? To quarrel all the time, constantly trying to make your point, try to win every single argument. So that's one agent of hate. Those family members who think that they should make their point. They should win every argument. That family, sooner or later, maybe people eventually say, yes, okay, I heard you, please stop. But it doesn't mean that they're okay with you. It doesn't mean they accept. It doesn't mean that they listen to you. So Jidal, Mira was one of them. Second, yes. Yes. Minnat, very good. Reproach, meaning you remind people what you've done for them. You don't let them forget that you did this for them. You threw it back at their face. And we dislike that. And the third one. Yes. Can I give him the chance? Thank you. Yes. Arrogance, takabbur, right? Thinking that you're better than others. Good job. Recite a salat for anyone who answered and those who wanted to answer. Recite a salat. And for a moment, let's turn to our fitrah. Fitrah, again, if it's a complicated word to you, fitrah means when we put aside what we learned, how we were raised, just deep down as a human, as a creation of God. We don't like discrimination. We do not like injustice. We don't have to go to school to learn that. The moment you kiss one of your children and you don't kiss the other, that other child, even if it's, I've seen it, 2 years old, they will bring their face, right? Where's mine? So you don't need a class for that. We get it that this is something that bothers me. If you lie to children, they don't like that. If you lie to Sheikh Modarres and adults, we don't like that either. But children especially, they don't get it. They cannot even believe it. The young children, they don't get it. Is that really a thing? Because for example, in adults, when somebody promises you something, we ask for, what we ask for? In order to make sure they're going to go through with their promise? Guarantees. Okay? Give me your number, write me a check, sign a contract, especially if there's accountability, right? But for children, they just take your word for it. Study or do this or go to bed, I'm gonna buy you ice cream. And they don't, okay. Unless they have experience of you betraying them, they will say, okay. That's something about their nature. And the moment they figure out that you didn't, you were not honest with them, their world falls apart. And we have the hadith, the narration says, when you make a promise to your children, when you make an ahad means a contract, a promise, fulfill it. Don't make it or otherwise do it. And then the hadith said, because when you betray them, they question Allah. Because they don't get it, that for them, you are the center of the world. Young children, kids, you are the God to them. God, of course, we know the ultimate hadith. The way they look at you as Razzaq. You are the Razzaq. You are the provider. Once we grow up, we understand, okay, my dad is a blessing from Allah. We, inshallah, hopefully we get that later on. But children don't get it. So Allah, the Messenger of Allah said, make sure you fulfill your promise. Do not lie. Do not make false promises. Because then you affect the way that they perceive Allah. It makes them, create that distrust that they have with the source of authority, which in this case should be Allah. Because Allahu waliyul ladina amanu. Allah is the wali. Allah is the ultimate guardian. And before children grow up, you are the wali. You are the guardian. So do not abuse your position as a guardian. So going back to these three issues, which one of these three issues doesn't seem that our fitrah, meaning without need to learn any of that, which one of them we say, oh, it's not right, it doesn't affect family, arrogance, it doesn't. Who would say that? Meaning the teachings of the Quran and Ahlul Bayt are already counting on our good nature. That when they say, they are preaching something that we already know. What's the name of Quran? Another name for Quran? Dhikr. Al-Dhikr. Quran has multiple names. One of them is Quran, which means the one is to be read, to be recited. Something that is readable. It was meant to be studied. Another name for it is Dhikr. Nahnu nazzalna dhikr. Quran said, we send down dhikr, referring to Quran. What is dhikr? Reminders. Tadhakkur in Arabic and all other languages, it means to remind people. So dhikr is a remembrance. Dhikr Allah, when you remember Allah, when you say Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Allah Akbar, Allah, that's dhikr. That's a way to remember Allah. Meaning is not to learn about Allah. You already know Allah is there. You forget. We get distracted. Right? Sheikh Modarres is talking. I've been on my phone reading messages. I'm distracted, right? And Sheikh Modarres need to remind you, please pay attention with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. That's a remembrance. That's reminders. Allah said this Quran, the main purpose of it was not to bring these new discoveries and talking of things that you didn't know. Most of the message of Allah, beside the historical facts that we didn't know and we needed an account of the past, the message, the core message you already know. Allah created you, embedded within you. All you need is a reminder. And Allah referred to His Prophet, إِنَّمَا أَنْتَ مُذَكِّرٌ. You're just a reminder. You just remind them. It's like when you are living in a family and they're late. They have an appointment, they have to get to school, work, and you say, okay, by the way, it's late, you have to, I think, leave by now. And they are two types of people. One say, oh, thank you. They start rushing and going. And the others say, no, I know it's late, it's okay. They ignore you. They go on with their business. They keep watching whatever they're watching. When the messenger of God comes, people's attitude toward that reminder is going to be one of the two. They either said, yes, we heard you. Yeah, these idols don't help us. These idols are incapable of protecting themselves. How they can protect me? It makes sense to them. That's what Abadar, that's how Abadar become Abadar. They ask him, how did you become Muslim? Since I was a child, and I grew up in a family that they were idol worshippers. They asked me to take this food and offering to an idol. Our tribe had their own idol. So it was some milk or whatever that was in a tray, and I took it. So one day, I was really curious to see how this big idol is going to eat this. It was fascinating, interesting. So I found a place and I hit myself. I waited and waited when this idol is probably shy to eat in front of me. Let me hide. So after a while, a coyote, a fox, whatever that kind of animal live in that region, it came and started eating it. And after it was done, it relieved itself and then left. And it did relieve itself on the feet of the idol. I look at that as a child and said, what kind of a God is this that cannot even prevent this kind of insult? That somebody's going to come and believe it themselves and you do nothing. And from that moment as a child, I never look at idols the same way. For some people, they get it. For some others, again, I mentioned the story that some would try to have a negotiate with Prophet. They would come and say, Ya Rasulullah, we worship your God for 1 year, you worship our idols for 1 year. It doesn't matter to them, it's just about sticking with what they want. 1 year, we're going to say there is no God but Allah, all the idols are wrong and they're false, and 1 year we're going to go back to it. As if the truth is irrelevant. The truth is truth. You cannot just have double standards about it. The truth is either this is a God or not. And this is running away from truth. Quran said, Inna ad-din 'inda Allah al-Islam. Indeed, the religion before God is Islam. So what about Christianity? What about Judaism? What about religions before Islam? Remember, this Islam is not just referring to the religion that we follow. Islam means submission. And that's an understanding of it. That to Allah what matters is for you to recognize and discover the truth and haqq. And then, once you recognize the truth, what you should do? Islam, you submit. So, okay, this is the truth, I have to listen. Whatever that truth is, I have to listen. Lack of Islam is that what I said. 1 year we're going to worship idols, it means truth is irrelevant, it's pointless. It's like people said, I know that I'm wrong, but still I want this. I demand this. I'm wrong, but I demand something. And that's the problem. It's like Yazid said, yes, I know I'm a drunk man. I know I have all those issues, but I'm the Amir al-Mu'min. At the same time, having these two things should not have a problem. And unfortunately, in the non-Shi'i theology, that's okay. I wish we had time to talk about the theological debate. And we see hadiths and narrations narrated that even the scholars right now, modern day scholars of Hijaz and Saudi Arabia and all that, they write books on this, that if the ruler, the one in charge, and the Muslim ummah, and the Muslim system of government, if they are sinners, if they are corrupt, if they are adulterers, the list goes on, it's okay. You cannot disobey them. It's okay. This is not a contradiction. They can lead a society in the name of Islam and then break every command of that Islam as well. And that's a problem. That's not submission to the truth. Submission to the truth in Islam is that I recognize, for example, gravity is haqq. It's truth. It's part of the existence. The fact is something is a law of the universe, Allah created us. For me to just walk around and say, no, I don't submit to gravity. It doesn't matter if you do or not. The truth is, if I don't eat this kind of healthy food and I have junk food, it's going to have bad impact on my body. That's the truth. And I say, you know what? But I say Bismillah. Every time for the rest of my life, I'm going to have pizza and all the junk food, but I say Bismillah. One fact is not going to undermine the other fact. One truth is not going to undermine the other truth. So these three issues that we discussed, if we did not even have access, which alhamdulillah we're blessed that we have reminders, these ahadith of the Prophet, Ahadith about New Day, Quran are reminders. That's the reason I come in Moharram and talks about family. Using this as an opportunity to understand that whether just an ayah of Quran was recited, the hadith was recited, is already within me and my nature. There is this ability to see it. And yes, nobody likes arrogance. If my husband, if my wife, if my children, if my parents, in their words and their attitude, the way they do it is arrogance, that all I see is arrogance, this is not going to be someone that I can force myself to love. I will respect them. I'll force myself to honor them, but I will not love them, because love is something that does not get along with arrogance. One reason Imam al-Hussein is loved this way. What stands out about character of Imam al-Hussein? There's so much, obviously. But one quality that stands out in every single of the way of the journey of Imam al-Hussein, from the moment he was born until his shahadat, we don't see comments, we don't see a statement that this person talks that it sounds like an arrogant person. All we see is someone who's, in absolute sense, consider himself a servant of God. Ilahi ridan bi ridak. Ya Allah, I'm pleased because you are pleased. I'm not even here, Imam Hussein says. This is easy for me to endure because you are the witness. And that's why when Hur comes to Imam Hussein, said there's no ego. Hur said, I'm sorry for what I've done, for the mistakes that I've made. He doesn't say, no, you know, how did you talk to me? There is no arrogance. That's why this person is loved so much. So the same as with other two issues. If it's arrogance, if it's minnat, we don't like minnat. If somebody keep reminding us, imagine, I'll give you an example. Somebody stops and help you. Let's say you have a flat tire. They help you. If you are a normal, decent, average person, what would you do if they help you to change your tire? What would you do after you're done? Thank you. Yeah, man, you know, nobody would stop nowadays. What will you say? Yeah, I know. Thank you. You know, no, but really nowadays, you should really go out of your way, and you know nobody stops nowadays. Thank you. But after a few more times, it comes to a point that you would get annoyed. Okay, got it. What do you want me to do? Do you want me to pay you? Right? It was a kindness. They did something very nice. But because of minnat, eventually even the best kind of service, it will not worth that much minnat. It will not worth it. So I prefer for you not to stop and not to help if this is what you're going to do after. The gratefulness is not going to be there. Same as with you as parents. You keep saying it to your children. You know that I did this for you. I did this for you. And imagine now it's not just one changing tire, it's every single day of their lives. Sooner or later, depending on how respectful they are, it's not going to be the same way that they respond. I'm not saying, by the way, children, listen, even if your parents are wrong, you cannot talk back. That's our faith telling us. Control your desires, control your anger. The same way that when you're going to school, even if the teacher says something you don't like, there's an etiquette and adab with your parents. That's why we said don't look at your parents with anger, even if you are right and they're wrong. So I'm not trying to promote disrespect to our parents. But I'm saying that our nature doesn't like it. Our fitra doesn't like minnat. And our nature doesn't like jidal either. We get tired of a lot of arguments. It gets just excessive to a certain point. So now let's take the next step, which is, okay, so how can we take the right step in the right direction? These are the pitfalls. These are the potholes on our way that we want to have a good relationship, a good family, right? What is the way that we can maintain a good relationship, a healthy family? And that's what brings me today to this ayah. Allah says in the Quran, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. Indeed, we granted the children of Adam karama. Translation in English doesn't do justice to the word karama, by the way. The same way I don't think there's a right word for karamat in Farsi either. It's one of those words, in order to define it, we need a phrase to translate it. That's the beauty of the word of Allah, the beauty of Arabic language. Every language has its own beauty, but this book especially, one word can have a lot of depth. There are languages that they're very superficial, they're very on the surface. The word, it means what it means. So karama is being translated as honor. What is honor? I've seen it, we blessed. I've seen a translation of, also again in a different context, when you say kareem, which come from karama and nobility. Karama means nobility. And all of them, they are alluding to karama. But what is karama? Karama, it's, again, if I give a statement, a phrase, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we gave these children of Adam a position and status that they are, number one, respected. They are favored. They are granted, in some extent, a higher position than the rest of the creation. This is all karama. The children of Adam, Allah says, we gave them one thing, that they are superior to the rest of creation, to some extent. وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. Allah said, all the other creations on earth, I made you, O human being, to be my Khalifa, my successor on earth, my representative on earth. That's karama. We did not deserve it. We were not better than angels that Allah gave us that. This is Allah giving it to us. It was one of those free upgrades that Allah offered. We did nothing for it. لَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. We granted the children of Adam this sense of honor, respect, dignity. وَحَمَلْنَاهُ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ. We give them the ability to possess and carry what is on the land and what's in on water. You have the ability to possess, to utilize, to use and control land and water. فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ. Land and sea. وَرَزَقْنَاهُ مِنَ الطَّيِّبَاتِ. We granted you, we provided you from the pure sources in order for you to get what you need. You know, all due respect to vegans and vegetarians, when we are taking away a life of a sheep or a cow or a chicken, the reason we do it is not because we deserve it. Is رَزَقْنَاهُ مِنَ الطَّيِّبَاتِ. Is Allah granted that karama. That's why we say the name of Allah when we doing the slaughter. Zib. Meaning, Allah, I know this is your creation. I know this is a creature that you created and has a life as well. You gave me that permission. You gave me that karama with your name, with Bismillah, with Allahu Akbar, I'm taking away that life. In order to become my rizq. It's not that because we were special, this is a gift from Allah. وَرَزَقْنَاهُ مِنَ الطَّيِّبَاتِ. Again, I've seen some very cute vegetarian children. I remember one day in masjid somebody was talking about how the meat is fresh and all that. And I think this child overheard that, you know, they just went to the farm and they just did zabiha and it was the sheep or lamb. And then this child got very upset. So why are you doing this? Why you don't feel bad? I said, you know, we're providing for everyone. They need food. We bring it to the masjid. And as this child was so upset, I said, no, you don't have to do that. You don't have to go to the farm. You don't have to get a lamb or a sheep. All you have to do is go to the Walmart, and there's a lot of already meats over there. You can just buy them. And for them, they don't see the difference. وَرَزَقْنَاهُ مِنَ الطَّيِّبَاتِ. Allah said, we also gave you that permission. وَفَضَّلْنَاهُمْ عَلَى كَثِيرٍ مِّمَّنْ خَلَقْنَا. We favored you over so many rest of our creation. Allah favored us over even angels. Angels prostrated to Adam alayhi salam. Angels pray on behalf of human beings when we do certain goods. That's the tafdeel, that's the way Allah favors us. So I said that in our family we need to remember karama. We need this sense of nobility within our relationship to our family. And the same is to have that karama with people in our community, especially to children. You know why children, especially children? Look at the logic of why children. For example, Prophet said, "Akrimu awladakum." Hadith of the Prophet. So honor your children. Akrimu means you're going to treat them with nobility. Why awlad? Why children? Because adults, if you don't show me respect, if you don't show me honor, I have a power to do something about it. Most likely I will say, okay, you don't honor me, I walk away from you. If I'm not respected here, I will not be here. As adults, we have some power, some control. Yes, Islam says to be patient, to forgive, forbearance. Alhamdulillah, brother was talking about sabr. But ultimately, still you have a choice. Because my choice, again, I'm not that good, I'm not that strong, I'm going to walk away. But children don't have that choice. Unfortunately, if you like or not, they're stuck with us. And for that reason, Allah said, akrimu, honor them. Because with adults, sometimes you don't get away with it. In our masajid, the unfortunate treatment of children, it bothers me. It bothered me since my own childhood. Among things that I've seen, a child is sitting at the jama'ah, congregation, salat time. Adults come as they are invisible. Just go to the back. Islamically, this child is sitting here. This is his haqq. This is his right. It's not mine. It's not my place. First come, first serve. You can ask, can you sit there? Can you please give your space for this? But I've seen it, invisible. Just go. Where is karama in this? Where is honor in this? And our Prophet treatment of children was groundbreaking for his time. And we heard this story, but unfortunately we should see almost zero cases and instances of jahiliyyah and the treatment of children like the ignorance. Imam al-Hasan, Imam Hussein come to the masjid, how Prophet, we heard the stories, how Prophet would treat them. Said, go Hasan, said, go sit at them. Don't come to me. Oh, you want to hug? This is not the place for hug. Sit down. This is the way Prophet of God treated children. Among the things that our Prophet said there are certain habits that I have that I will not abandon until I die. Among them is what? Starting the salam, saying salam to children. It's Prophet's sunnah to say salam to children. And Prophet said, I will not stop until I die. He would walk in the street, and see children, salam alaikum. And I've seen it from the moment I remember. Iranian, Afghan, Pakistan, make no difference. Bita, where's your salam? You forgot your salam? Where's your adab? I thought that our Prophet was the one starting the salam. If there's anything else, you can tell them, but not to just start the salam. The best way to teach them is by example. Rather say salam, say the salam yourself, they learn. Look at the body language of your children. They copy you exactly. Right? Exactly your body language. When you get upset, right? I've seen that some people, when they get upset, they hit their forehead. I've seen a 4-year-old got upset and did the same thing like a father. Was he told? No, he just copied, mimicked. Karama of children. It happens when there's a karama, when there's honor between couples. the worst thing we can do to each other is to insult one another, disrespect one another, belittle one another. And I've seen how that happens. One is family. I'm giving you practical tips. This is, again, no need for hadith for it. Our own logic should help us with this. People make the same mistakes expecting a different outcome. But the outcome is always the same. Problems are always the same. One issue is that when you get married, again, single brothers, single sisters, please also listen. For you, this is going to be a lot helpful, very much for your future. If you're married, this is still helpful, inshallah, if you decide to make a change. Once you get married, you start a new union called your own family. But it doesn't mean you lost the previous one. You still have your parents, you still have your siblings, they're still your family as well. But now you started something that if you like it or not, they are your priority. Your spouse is your priority. Islam says, faith said, and also logic says. So this is the one you marry, this is the one you start your own family, you're going to have children together. So obviously this should be my priority. One is that is, again, if you plant a new seed and a new plant, and you have a tree, which one needs more care? Which one? I hope you're not saying a tree.
New plan.
A new plant. Your family just started is a new plant. It needs more time and effort. Your family, you've been there with them, mashallah, their relationship with you and your parents and your siblings is a tree. Whatever should have happened, whatever fruit it should have given, it did. So what should I do? Never undermine your spouse and your family to your other family. If you want something to grow, you protect it against any form of harm. You going to your own family bad-mouthing your wife. I'm venting, Sheikh. Find somewhere else to vent. You know why? Why you should not vent to some family members? Because the way our brain works as family member is, we want to help. In my family, I care so much about you. The moment you talk about your problem, I give you an example. Just go, if you tell Sheikh Modarres, oh, by the way, it's been a long time, I really love kubida, kebab. Sheikh Modarres said, oh, inshallah, hopefully one day you have it. I really, again, inshallah, maybe one day we get together and go get kubida. Inshallah, I pay. Why not?
Allah,
Those who are in our masjid, they tasted the kubida I served. I don't know if they're happy with it, but sure. But if you say this to your mom, Mom, it's been a long time I didn't have nahari. Most likely that night, if not in the early morning, if it's possible to ship it across the state, you get that nahari sooner or later. Why is that? Because there's care. You cannot blame them. That's how they look at what you're saying. What can I do? When you tell me, the way I look at it is very objective. For them, it's very subjective. So when you complain about your wife, when you complain about your husband, when your family hears, most, they're exceptions. They're those wise families that they know, okay, they say they're venting, they're just emotional. But there are those families who don't have that maturity. They hear you, what they say, so okay, got you, yeah, don't worry. And then they don't tell you, and then they pick up the phone. And then they call. Again, hundreds of cases like this have happened. They call. If it's the son or daughter, it makes no difference, by the way. It doesn't matter if a woman talks or men talk. Once you put the karama and honor and nobility aside and you become like a child, you are opening the door of disasters coming. They pick up the phone, they call. And let's say if you are the one that you bothered their son. In this case, the husband was complaining, right? Just let me be sure, he didn't really like you. I made him marry you. And now you make me look bad. What kind of a wife you are? I chose you for him. What do you think this kind of comments is going to do to that woman, to that wife? Even if that issue is such a small issue, now you make it bigger. You didn't want me? You were forced into this? If it's the woman complaining, father, mother, whoever it is, called the husband. Let me be clear, if you do this one more time, she doesn't need you. I learn new things, I will take your house, I'll take the children, I do everything. And they think with this threat, they're gonna do something. And then they push the man toward the stubbornness. And then just the list of disasters that comes after this is just open your creativity and imagination. And all of this is started because the two people didn't recognize karama. That my spouse is entitled to my respect. It's not that I give it respect. That's the haq, that's the right that they have on me. So in a family that, God forbid, there's always abusive languages, condescension. If it was up to me, I would have sent these people to school again. Someone who in front of their own children, they make comments about education of their spouse. Or your dad doesn't know what he's talking about. Oh, your mom is just a stay-home mom. She doesn't know the real life. She doesn't know business. And sometimes the way we say it, it has a lot of pain. Don't talk to your mom. Go talk to Sheikh Modarres. Why do you have to undermine your wife in order to teach someone that, okay, you need additional support, you need additional consultation? Why? Does it make you feel good about yourself to undermine someone's karama? And mashallah, we live at the time of internet. Everybody now is a doctor, a psychologist. Everybody diagnoses one another. Yeah, you have OCD. Why? Because the poor wife says, you know, once we're done with the food, we have to wash the dishes. I don't like to leave the dishes in a sink until tomorrow. You have OCD. This is waswas. How is that? Now, there are people with cases of OCD, but are you an expert to label it that way? Or no, because you're lazy and you don't want to do it, suddenly this is a good way to get away with it. And the same, the poor guy is trying to manage the finances of the house. Let's say he just lost one job. He just was laid off. He's struggling financially. And he tries to, okay, I just want to make sure, what are we spending money on? You're cheap. You're cheap. My mom told me that you're cheap. I didn't believe her. This has come from lack of karama. When we do not understand that people go through life. Life has ups and downs. And you should look at them, that this is the person that I'm going to live the rest of my life with. Marriage is not just for the happy occasions and trips and vacations together. Marriage is actually about the tough time. Family is about tough time. Otherwise, friends also go for vacation now. What is it the name they have for? Friendcation? Is there a name? I made this up? I just made it up. They go to trips together, they enjoy their time. That's what friends are for usually. You have fun with them. Close friends are with you at the time of difficulty. But tertiary friends, they're just there for a good time. Family, on the other hand, is actually, what is it meant for? Is for all seasons. And if there is no karama, if there is no honor and nobility within the family, please do not blame fate. Do not blame qismat. Do not blame qada and qadar. Sometimes we do it to ourselves. I sabotage my relationship, then I want to say, Ya Allah, why me? If I make my family a place that people don't like to show up, they run away. Prophet said, the worst of men are the ones that when they go to the house, their family run away from them. They're looking for a place to hide. I have studies to do. Oh, let me just get busy working. Because they just know this kind of personality that out of fear they're respected. And I'm not saying as a father you should not have a sense of discipline. You should. As a father, something you have to be serious. I'm not saying that. Don't be one of those loose hippie parenting, oh, dude, slap me and push me around. No, I'm not promoting that. But to have discipline, to have a proper sense of tarbiyah, it doesn't mean to be aggressive. That's not the same thing. To be serious and aggressive are not synonyms. They're two different things. One is acceptable, necessary, one is unacceptable. And that's once it comes to our mind that everybody is entitled to karamah. They should be respected. Otherwise, who wants to, again, if you come to the masjid, if you come to the Imam Barga, any place, and you feel that you're not respected, you're extra, you feel extra, you will not show up. And the family is the same case. Why my son doesn't want to be with me? Why my daughter run away from me? There are exceptions to every rule. Children at a certain age, when they grow, eventually, they want to interact with their own ages, their own peers. That's normal. That's the stages of life. We cannot expect, a 20-year-old to have the same kind of attachment to you that your 5-year-old had. It's not even healthy. I remember the time that they wanted, even if at night I wanted to leave them for 2 hours, they would cry behind me. So, okay, how old are they now? 18. And they're okay if the whole day they don't see me. I said, that's normal. You should be happy. They outgrow their age. But if it comes to a point that is extreme, like they don't want to see me, they don't want to talk to me. You're going to have to see, did I make the environment of the family a place that they feel unimportant, unappreciated, insignificant? And that comes when there is no karamah. Reconsider the comments that we make. Think twice, 3 times before we say something, especially if what we say is going to be harsh. Most of our regrets are not about the things that we didn't say. A lot of people think, oh, I wish I would have said that. That's a very rare regret. Most of the regrets is, why did I say that? Why? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all the tawfiq of honoring one another as family members, respecting one another as community members, to recognize that everybody is entitled to a dignified treatment. Everyone. Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, I'm going to make this the introduction of my musibah. In the Battle of Jamal, enemies of Imam Ali alayhi salam fought against him, but Imam Ali ultimately won the battle. Companions of the Prophet, Talha and Zubayr, Prophet's wife, they were on one side, Imam Ali and his companion on the other. When once Imam Ali alayhi salam won the battle, ended the battle, Imam said, take the wife of Prophet with dignity back to Medina. It's not because she deserved it. It's not because she's entitled. It's ultimately, this is a woman. This is someone who's associated with Prophet. Take it with respect. And on the way, because at that time when they wanted to wage wars, sometimes they would take families with them because it would take a long time. It would take weeks, months. So some people would have families with them. So some of the families of those who were killed in the battle, the families of the enemies of Imam Ali, there were women among them, they were cursing Imam Ali's companion. They were disrespectful. And Imam Ali walked on his companion and said, whatever they said, do not respond. They are grieving. This is honored by them. They are prisoners, they are family of our enemies, but the path of Islam, the path of Allah and Ali alayhi salam, is a path of karamah, that even enemies are entitled to karamah. And this is not just in this case. Hamza said to Shuhada, they mutilated his body after Shahada. Some of the companions said, we're going to do the same. We're going to revenge. And the Prophet said that our faith is forbidden. It's forbidden. So even an enemy died, you cannot go desecrate the body. The enemies of Ahlul Bayt, they're exactly the opposite of what Prophet said. Imam Ali said, keep in mind that these women and children who are families of our enemies, out of anger, out of frustration, out of pain and grief, if they say something, turn up, deaf ear basically. Do not pay attention, do not respond. Let them. They just lost loved one. And in the day of Ashura, how they treated the family of Abu Abdullah. Today we dedicate this program on the night of Tasu'ah. There's one companion of Imam Hussein Islam that until he was alive, there was this sense of safety for the family of Imam Hussein Islam. Even Imam Hussein Islam, he would bring back the bodies of other martyrs, other companions. But there's one shaheed that when he went to his body, he said, Al-an qad inkasara dhahri. He said, now the back of Hussein broke. And that's Abu al-Fadl Abbas, the commander of Imam al-Hussein al-Salam, Alamdar, the flag bearer. Sallallahu alayka ya Abu Abdullah. Sallallahu alayka ya Mazloom, ya Gharib. Sallallahu alayka wa ala akhika Abu al-Fadl Abbas, Qamar al-Ashira. The tradition of that time was that Alamdar, the flag bearer, would be among the last to go to the battle. You first, even nowadays, commanders don't go first in the front line. On the day of Ashura, when Ashab were martyred, when Bani Hashim, Ali al-Akbar, Qasim, brothers of al-Fadl Abbas, brothers of Imam Hussein, went to the battle. Now among the final people who are on Imam Hussein's camp is Abu al-Fadl Abbas. He asked for permission. Imam gave him permission to go a few times to get water, by the way. One thing a lot of people don't remember in history or do not heard of in history is that Abu al-Fadl Abbas got to Euphrates other times. He was able to bring some water back. It wasn't, of course, sufficient enough. Today, those of you who are in downtown, some say, okay, if it was just a few days, what's the big deal of not having water for a few days? Because on the second of Moharram, they had water. On the third, they had, but eventually, final days, they didn't. Just today, walking in downtown with the way we walk now, it was a bit of heat. And I promise you, with a couple of bottles of water, a lot of people would have easily fainted. And imagine you are in Iraq, in Karbala, in the middle of the day, and some of them, again, they're wearing armors, heavy armors, carrying swords, also back horse riding. That itself, how much energy that all of that needs. So we have that Abu al-Fadl Abbas came one more time, asked for permission to go to the battle. Imam alayhi salam told him, wait, my brother. He's a true follower, a Shia. If Imam says no, he understands it's no. I'm not going to question. He has the wisdom, he has the knowledge. But when he returned, he saw something. There was this tent that they would keep skin leather, which is basically these bags that they would keep water in. Or leather skins, basically. And he saw some of the children are picking up these leather skins and trying to get some drops of water from them. if there's anything left. And some of them, they pulled up their shirts and placed their stomachs, their bellies on the ground because there's a bit of moist on it to alleviate their thirst. And he came back to Abu Abdullah and said, Ya Abu Abdullah, قَدْ ضَاقَ صَدْرِي وَقَلَّتْ حَيْلَتِي. O Hussein, the chest of Abbas is tight. I cannot endure this anymore. I have the title of Saqal, provider of water. I am the flag bearer. How can I see this and do nothing? And Imam Hussein looked at the face of Abbas, saw the agony, saw the suffering and pain. So Imam told him, Ya Abbas, utlub qalilan min al-ma' li ha'ula'i al-atfal. Go get some water for these children. So the intention of Abbas was not to engage with the enemies, was to get water. As if this was a new life in the body of Abbas, the strength of Abbas. He gathered them all together, mounted his horse. He went toward the Euphrates. He got to the water, filled the leather skins. And on his way back, we have Umar ibn Sa'd ordered, make sure not even a drop of water get to the camp of Hussein. What's the story of the thirst of Hussein? Enemies gathered around Abbas. His bravery was seen in the Battle of Jamal. He fought by the side of his father. He is the one who was trained by Ali ibn Abi Talib. And that's why direct combat is not going to be a way to deal with them. Rather, hiding behind palm trees, waiting for the right moment. And as Abu al-Fadl Abbas is going toward the camp, going toward the children, one of these enemies struck Abu al-Fadl Abbas on the right hand. How did he got the water skin? How did he got it to his left hand? Allah knows. But he's dedicated. He's focused that I'm going to get the water to the family of Hussein. He continued until another group of enemies attacked him and they cut his left hand, severed his left hand. So he carried the leather skin with his teeth. Now we know why he's called Bab al-Hawaij, the door of needs. Because he's ready in order to answer the hajat of children of Hussein. He carried with his teeth with no hand. And he said, Wallah in qata'atumu yamini inni uhami abadan an dini. I swear to Allah that if you think cutting my hand, severing my hand is going to stop me from protecting, defending the religion of Allah, you didn't recognize, you don't know me well. So he continued. But the Maqta, the history says there was a moment that Abbas, fatahayyar al-Abbas, Abbas stopped. And that was the moment that arrows, he was showered with arrows, and some of these arrows, they pierced his body, but some of these arrows pierced the leather skin, and the water started to drop on the ground. And that was the moment Abbas said, what am I doing? I have no hand. I have no water. Where am I going? And they struck him on his head with a amud, with a pole that he fell from the horse. And we have in some of the narration, it's been said to remind us in the Maqtal, I've heard it from different ulama, that to remind everyone that when you are falling from a height, the first thing you do is that you use your hand to shield and to reduce the impact of the fall. But when Abu al-Fadl Abbas fell from the horse, he has no hand on his body to prevent that. So he fell from the horse on his face, and he called upon his Mawla, Assalamu alayka ya Abu Abdullah, akhak adrik akhak. Oh brother, come to the help and rescue of your brother. Abu al-Fadl Abbas is calling Hussein, and Hussein is rushing toward Alqamah until he got to Abu al-Fadl Abbas. On his way, we have that the moment he saw the body of Abbas that has no hand on, This is what he said. الآن قد انكسر ظهري وقلت حيلتي. My dear brother Abbas, the back of your brother broke now. Who's gonna stand by my side now? That indeed now is the time that I have no other way, that I have no other plan to move forward. That this is the moment that enemies are gonna rejoice and see that their Hussein has no Abbas anymore. We have that Abu Fadl Abbas, Imam al-Hussein picked his head, placed it on his lap on the final moment. And we have that he asked him this question, oh my dear brother Abbas, you always called me Sayyidi wa Mawlai, my master, my leader. What happened that after a while, I wanted you to call me this earlier. Remember, he was raised by al-Banin. Who was al-Banin? The one whose name was Fatima, but he asked his children and asked his husband Ali, do not call me Fatima, call me al-Banin. Why al-Banin? Because I don't want the children of Fatima hear the name of their mother. I don't want them to remember their mother, and it is a reminder of their laws. This is the adab of al-Banin, and now Abu Fadl Abbas has the same adab. He's not going to address Hussein when he is the Imam as a brother, but on that final moment he called Imam al-Hussein, my brother, come to the rescue of your brother. What happened, my dear Abbas? And we have that Abu Fadl Abbas alayhi salam said, oh my dear Hussein, I didn't do that because my mother wasn't Fatima. Yes, my father was Ali, but your mother was Fatima Zahra. But I can see that my grandfather Rasulullah is welcoming me, and I see that my mother Fatima Zahra is saying, my dear Abbas, my dear son, come, that we are waiting for you. وعلى لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إلا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Ya Allah, hasten the return of Imam of our time, Imam Sahib al-Asr al-Zaman. Help us to be among the dedicated and sincere followers of Imam of our time. Ya Allah, all those marhumeen, all the marhumin of the attendants, volunteers, the sponsors of these majalis, Ya Allah, bless their soul and grant them maghfirah and forgiveness. Ya Allah, all those who are mareed, those in need of our du'as, dealing with health issues, dealing with mental health issues, with any hajat, with any request they have, Ya Allah, first grant them strong iman, grant them sabr and patience, but ultimately, Ya Allah, grant them immediate relief as soon as possible. Ya Allah, all the madhumeen of the world, all the persons of the world, especially madhumeen of Palestine and Gaza, Ya Allah, bring an end to their suffering, and Ya Allah, punish the oppressors and zalimeen in any shape and form that they are. Ya Allah, by the honor of Abu Abdullah Hussein, by the honor of Abu Fadl Abbas, grant us the tawfiq of ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein and Abu Fadl Abbas in this life, and to be under the banner of the Imam al-Hussein in the Day of Judgment, and to receive the shafa'at of Imam al-Hussein in the Day of Judgment. Allahumma falana wa liwalidayna wa liwaliday walidayna wa liman lahu haqqun alayna wa li jami'i al-mu'minin wal mu'minat. Please recite Surah Fatiha wa the salawat ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.